morning. Especially good day on Chinese New Year. So it's like the Tashi delay or any kind of congratulations offered on New Year has a lot more, should have a lot more significance to it, because of course the New Year in general signifies that one has renewed hopes for that coming year, and that the old year has passed, and that you're kind of recalibrating your motivation, as it were, to do the best for the coming year, and whatever objectives and plans and so on that are there. One really sets them well at the start of the year. So it's that tashi delay, or that hope that these plans, these objectives will come to fruition without obstacle during this coming year.
New Year in dumplings New Year dumplings
Dumpling,
dumplings. She was get you marwa. Tashi delay you get a shake or you. The way I will only do your and you take a 10 young way of Tashi delay, start you what you do to you.
And so yes, that's to kind of really contrast with the simple paying lip service to Happy New Year, and that you will enjoy some dumplings or something like that. It should have a lot more significance to it, that one is wanting to not only have those objectives and plans for the coming year, but is what you are inspiring in that congratulations is that you will lay down the causes to bring about those specific results.
And teacher, because of the good job of Puye, and Jig, and the job with it in the Chibataya, and Jig, send just in a Jabba the Ninja come yet. What are the teacher and lost out the Koya, which is over.
And of course, if that intention then is accompanied by motivation, a positive motivation, whereby we can engage in activities such as making offerings or acts of kindness, or in dealing with sentient beings with love and compassion and other noble qualities, then of course that simple statement of Happy New Year has great significance to it.
And if Namin Nangu in Nangu Chabushra Mena, that lost our than any chapter to it. And in Yamadika chapter close and chapter Savage Cochi. And Tobu Nanza, to Chamaja Timothy, to get a chapter close, chapter Savage Cochi.
And of course, if there are difficulties between friends, or especially within families, where there's been conflict and disagreement that has kind of festered over some time, the New Year is a great opportunity to close that chapter and to open a new chapter of a new start of friendliness and companionship and harmony. That's so important.
That is why a New Year to go to you.
And so there,
she Lam Rim
so of course that brings a kind of a meaning to the whole concept of a new year. Why we say Happy New Year, it adds significance and meaning to it. Otherwise, it's what is it? It's just simply a sign that we're getting closer to death, really.
What did it do? That is a New Year, the meaningful change. The catch of it. That is the Jeto and New Year, and Coach of Yabu Young Tenage. The Master Congress of the Chibutua.
And so therefore it's the whole purpose of New Year, then we should really determine that it is that in order to make meaningful, to make it more meaningful, to make our lives more meaningful, and that indeed we should all take on board, not just those for whom it is a new year, but for all of us should take that sort of sentiment on board.
Happy New Year, happy St. Kibu, you Madonna, Kibu Yungu Marwa. You to go to you to be able to pay to go to. Something was a judicial bedroom, much of and Jewu did a Ravajana. You may not Jewu Yungu Marwa.
And so, of course, when we say Happy New Year, it's sort of like it's with the understanding behind of that, implicit in that is that one is going to create the happiness, or the causes that bring about that happy result. It's too often that we kind of like focus on the result side of and having great hopes for some positive feeling and happiness without actually concentrating on setting out the causes that will actually bring that about. And if we fail to do that, of course, we can have all the hopes in the world, but without the causes, we will not experience a happy result. And so this is, of course, not something said blindly, but we know that it's a scientific kind of like understanding that we need to have certain things in place for those certain outcomes to come about. So we need to have causes specific to their results in order to really have a good chance, a good certainty that we will experience that specific result.
Lam Rim
And so we set our motivation at the outset to do whatever we possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. Knowing that in order to attain this state, we must, of course, establish the causes corresponding to that, which is the perfection of all the bodhisattva practices. And to perfect those practices, we need to initially have a thorough understanding of them based on a non-mistaken presentation. And so normally here we would be talking about an explanation on the graduated path to enlightenment teachings, but as was determined last week, we'll give a short explanation, a rough explanation today on actually how to practice the content of the graduated path teachings, such as how we might do that over the course of a single day, how to maximize our accumulation of virtue over that day from the setting of a motivation first thing in the morning, and how to carry that through till we go to bed at night. So we give a brief, rough kind of outline of how to go about that.
로사블 테스트를 지금 여러 번 다디나서 니마 리레라 테스트를 찍고 그도 찍고 그도 디마지는 디니마도 돌아줘야 내가 도와 되죠 쇼가 야라와다 치워네 남친 니메르데 얘네가 치워 맞은 왔잖아 다른 란주 중에도 꽤 성분이 삼사잖아 가나고 좋아 가 검정보다 디리안에 배 최초에 그는 배 그래서 저 고급지 중소 섬서 가고
And so with regard to how to go about a day of practice, and so this begins really with our waking, and the first and foremost thought to mind at that point should be to rejoice, to really rejoice, and that is in the context of our understanding of the fact that death is definite, that the time of death is indefinite, and that the only thing that is going to be helpful to us at the time of death is our own practice. And so here it's a recognition, an acknowledgement that having gone to bed last night, I didn't encounter any obstacles that might have led to my death, and I have been allowed to awaken again this morning to a new day. And just as we spoke about our putting a new year into context, and how we say Tashi Delay and a Happy New Year, and how we set a new kind of motivation of that new year to do the best we can for the year, we should really be saying Tashi Delay to ourselves every morning when we wake, in the same way, and that we have an opportunity for another day to do our very best to engage in virtue. And so this is the purpose behind our rejoicing when we first awake in the morning, and that this also, of course, helps us immediately to recognize not only the opportunity to practice, but not to waste that day. It's to make the very, very most of that day. So it's in that way of really recognizing again how fortunate I am to be alive again, and to do the very best I can to practice today.
미수인 바이네 아들이가 콘도 사긴 들이가 마기바 지금 미수가 요마로 얘네 소소 도나 마제바 자디 매베 온게 아니 깨제 제도 남장 콘도 사야 남장 되자지 남장 세단 깨지 용되도.
So this is also useful to contrast our arising in the morning without any specific effort to rejoice or to be mindful, because as you know, as we well know, the amount of days that we wake up and get up without any thought, without any particular thought, where we're really sort of in a state of ignorance still. And so, we've no thought to subduing our mind, no thought to engaging in any specific practice, or even to direct our mind in a certain way. And then, we wonder why sometimes we wake up angry, we wake up with the desire and attachment, and so on, with some sort of aversion in our minds. And this sort of thing happens so easily. It's not like we actually sit down or deliberately go, I will now be angry, I will now be desirous. This is something that happens automatically, arising in our minds and taking over, actually filtering through all our defenses into taking over our minds at particular points. And so we have to be aware that if we are not deliberately setting our mind in a particular way, then our mind will veer towards the afflictive side.
저거 꿀론 야보죠. 꿀론 되다 두면 저바다 시신게 가서도 다 쫑대바이나 엔 디님한테 강투도게 아니 최저를 줘야라 렐라다 동대야 용되지.
And so the process is that we set that motivation first thing on waking, and we continuously employ mindfulness and alertness to habituate ourselves to that motivation, to constantly bring to mind what we had motivated to at the very beginning of the day, so that throughout the day we are aware. It's there in the back of our minds, and it's kept in place by our mindfulness and alertness, which are really crucial to any kind of spiritual practice that we're engaging in. This is in order to really establish a habit. And if we have that sort of determination to keep ourselves aware, to keep ourselves mindful, then we are far more likely to allow for that motivation at the beginning to connect to the side of virtue throughout our day.
비모디 살소 라 차자 제제는 아니 가서 초초나 슈바 산제다 아니 장주 선번은 아니 가서 건수스다 어디든지 건수스.
So then once we set that preliminary motivation at the moment of waking, we can arise, and then we do 3 prostrations, and with our hands joined, and do on our knees, doing our prostrations to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas present, requesting them to please look after me.
dan lui dan long ju dan and so so sa ne get that give us our kind of simple shit dan is ro simple come to dan wa le and dan is dan wa til le and getting the never so and the simple turn to be so ne kala sa ye go ye and name me long je na simple connect to long je simple to what you so what I'm getting.
And then one makes that vow or pledge that in the presence of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, we say now saying your name, I dedicate my
so that 장주 상반 member 인자 다 member onto 다 right that 장주 선배 민재스 라트나 야고 장주 선배 member you can 장주 선배 민재 and 다 and 구조 체스 라게 다 소소 민가리나 셰제베는 셰제와티 and 세다 고야다 네메 대사도 롱제나 and 심지 코네 되는 게 있었잖아.
And so that you say, it's like in how you say, it's like in when you say that name, you say I, representing the aspiration to engage in the activities of a bodhisattva, using your name, and I will use my body, all my possessions, and all my activities for the purpose of really benefiting sentient beings today. So what I eat, what I wear, where I live, the place I live, the objects of use, the things that I make use of today, I will see to it that they are put to the purpose of benefiting others as much as possible. Solely for the benefit of sentient beings.
what the some damja on the damja ji sha the damja the tu kyun de sha ge na sha ji sha yi na and the ring la ne shi ja and the ni ma de cha za and ji ka tu de ne de ba de shi shi ge ju ba chen what to.
So as I mentioned in relation to the motivation, I mentioned also in relation to this vow or pledge that we make, that we reflect on that, and we also determine that it will be kind of habituated into our minds for the entire day through the mental factors of mindfulness and alertness again, employed in order to remind us to sustain this vow throughout the day.
And then that and then what is it that just and then ma so that dedical mind stage and because of the because increase matters like gyungaji sa somebody so pimana sara maza mara pimana kara maza still le du san and just le du sa that so ge lu nga yesu ge ta ge wa kandisha wa ina and ge wa topchi bocha ge wa ni bocha gyuchi bocha what the yo.
And so then one recites the increasing mantra, increasing of virtue mantra, which may be there, I think on the reverse page, I'm not sure. This is recited 7 times, and this is in order that one's own virtue and the virtue that one will engage in through body, speech or mind, that it is increased kind of really infinitely.
What somebody because Umara because one somebody because Umara somebody because Umara because one somebody because Umara one somebody because Umara one somebody because Umara what is chair one the dancer too much
and then after the recitation of the 7th of these 7 mantras, that one really has that moment of reflection, that one really has kind of had that blessing, as it were, that one's virtues will be kind of increased exponentially as the mantra has promised.
What it is then because of the then then changa if you don't get na omruzara manita ya hunsun and changa the le du da push up.
So then, as Gen is demonstrating, then we have the Mala blessing mantra, which is there, and that's recited 7 times also, where you take the Mala then and just kind of blow, as it were, blessing on your own Mala.
다다 대인제의 경화대 대대 교육청부 용어에 대한 산계가 다 가서 다다대 다 디나서다 뭐다 경화 장제는 소식 개화직이 뭐이나 개화대 본도 주도 그래서 개화직 제원에 개화 분장 뭐 주도했지.
So more specifically, just relating to the increasing mantra that we began with, that it said that upon recitation of that mantra, that the subsequent virtues will be increased 100,000 times.
다 용성거에 가서 콜류도나 송고도 산제의 용성거에 콜류도 또 송사죠 봐.
So there's
용성거에 콜류.
용서도로.
용성거와 뭐지 용성거. 탐제모와 용성거에 안 콜류도스 다 도디 밍리죠.
So again, is mentioning the name of the particular sutra from which that comes, and it's the Yongsu Kolo, the wheel of direct manifestation, something like this, mantra or sutra. So this is the source of it.
남배 가상로 남배 세리 남배 따와 남배 최스 다들 그거가 다 지금 된발의 이제다 대바다 다들 남배 그 세리다 따외团에 아니 야보 신에 예반년에 아니 남배 최를 연대시 통한도 다 아니 저거 산제가 고송토로 연대 되게 통한다 되게 돈 아니 다 되게 다 대바다 이제다 되게 컨트롤 차되고 다들 남배 최스 차되고 여러 봐.
So as you will recall my mentioning the 3 different categories in which the Buddha's teachings are, as it were, classified, one being Buddhist science, then Buddhist view, and then a really Buddhist practice. And so here we are talking about Buddhist practice, of course. And so it's but it's based on the study of Buddhist science and Buddhist view, that the faith that arises from both knowing what is involved in Buddhist science and Buddhist view, and the conviction that we gain from analyzing and contemplating that information, that kind of gives faith to, and power, of course, an impetus to our practice of the third classification or category of Buddhist practice. And so when we talk about the use of mantra and so on, and like this, we're talking about the third category, Buddhist practice. And so this is like, yes, coming to understand the qualities of the Buddha's body, speech and mind, having faith in the Buddha as teacher, and thereafter, of course, being willing then to practice the teachings that the Buddha taught. And so, of course, because in the context of saying something like, because it says in such a sutra that the recitation of this mantra will increase your virtue 100,000 times, of course, it's very difficult to actually give evidence for that directly, isn't it? It's like you have gain a scientific actual affirmation of something like that. And so it's only those who have high realizations can actually really see that this is actually the case. And so for here, we're looking to gain our basis of information on the science and the view, and that giving conviction then to what the Buddha has said, the qualities of the Buddha's body, speech and mind, and therefore faith in what the Buddha has said. That comes down to us in the form of these sutras. And so we have conviction in the practice that we're engaging in thereafter. And so from an ordinary perspective, of course, it's very difficult to gain conviction just by hearing this straight out like this. And so it requires a certain level of conviction and faith to take it on. And so it's indeed with regard to the great qualities of those of high realizations, it's very difficult for us as ordinary people to have any sort of appreciation for them, except through having a faith and a sense of conviction in them, isn't it? And so that once we have, some knowledge of what the Buddha stood for, like the Buddha's qualities of body, speech, mind, the life story and so on of the Buddha. And then I think it's easy for us to generate faith in what the Buddha has said, and thereafter to commit ourselves to practice as he advised. And so it's important to understand also, that the Buddha had no reason to kind of lie to us. There was kind of no great profit for him in kind of pulling the wool over our eyes, as it were. That after all, if we look at the life story of the Buddha, he gave up the very powerful position of a royal king, and the status that goes with that, and so on. And in saying to look for a way to benefit sentient beings. But his pronouncements were backed up by his actions, having gone through a great austerity and so on, and difficulty in order to gain that state of enlightenment through his motivation, and maintained that consistency throughout of doing everything for the benefit of sentient beings, which of course includes us. So he's doing so. Whatever he has said, whatever he has done, has been for us ultimately now. So there's no reason for us to have any doubt with regard to that, because his actions were consistent with his teachings.
다다다 창아도 엄치자라 가서 거기서 엄로자라만 나와도 창아데 düğün 장전은 창아를 푸다 다 창아를 푸다 다 창아를 푸다 와이나 아니 대신 쉬베 숨베나 상아 근데지 상아 근데지 장외이나 지와 탁디 자동도만 주도레스 대와 주도레스 어떻게
Getra.
다 지와다 다또 배시우지 다 지와 자타 동차다 자타다 동차 지와 지와 탁디 자동도만 다가자 된데 지와 찍니 말에 지와 멍부 지와 탁디 자와다 지와 멍부 다고 장게 조다자 탁디 담선 조다죠 다 장게 조다 장가 배 시우시 세 토부 시우시 본다 마다 다까지 시우지 멍부지 어때데 교토에게 가서도 다가자죠 산제게 다가져도 지금 수변아 근데 장게 이바이나 我的大的长啊的白居当长个那你是我就拉起不用推起，就我他的，我对的叫的老不给别先买看来，那送下死。
And so that again the mantra to bless the actual our mala, our beads, recited 7 times, is also said to then have tremendous efficacy for any mantra that is recited thereafter. Any mantra as said by, as told by, as given by the Buddha. And again, it's sort of like this figure is that which is saying is increased thousands of times, hundreds of thousands of times. Again, billions of times. Again, as sourced in that particular sutra. And then there's the blessing of the feet mantra, and this is recited 3 times, and then one blows gently on the soles of one's feet. And so that this is in order to thereafter, when we go walking, and we will be walking throughout any particular day, and unknowingly often we step on insects or very small creatures and kill them, even though we have no motivation to do so, but rather than that simple act of killing, once we have blessed the feet, it blesses that particular creature, and where they are reborn after that death is in the what's known as the heaven of the 33. I think this would be very effective also to recite on the wheels of one's car in the morning, and because obviously when you're driving, it's very obvious, very likely that you're killing many creatures as well. That probably is very, very good. But this doesn't give you license to go and slap and kill insects and then say, oh, that's okay, I've recited the mantra, they'll be reborn in the heaven of the 33. It doesn't work like that. And again, to reflect on the benefits of reciting such mantras, and to really consider it as something very important, very significant, and to recite within that frame of mind.
천 대주고 말와. nga jinab jadi ke chimu chiru yarasam.
And so then becomes something very important that to the mantras with which to bless our speech, because that's something that's quite necessary for us, I think, often. Yeah, you have those sheets that were handed out. It should be there on the first page again, I think. And so no, gyamdo semji the element of just nga jikpo de.
Oh, ta gyamdo semje jo ta kunjo somla gyapso che dola pinje sanje sho kunjo somla gyapso jo. gyapso chi ane dola pinje sanje sho kunjo somla gyapso che dola pinje sanje sho se chi. Si sum ka tsingi doa tsingi de cha sum jo kunjo somla gyapso che dola pinje sanje sho. Ta kunjo somla gyapso jo do ne ko ne dola pinje sanje ko ba to ba sho.
So can you have a? So we also actually recite refuge and bodhicitta in.
But the
So in general, so we don't recite the full mantra here, or full sort of prayer of refuge and bodhicitta, but it's just simply I go to the Buddha, the Dharma, and those of the highest order. I go for guidance and protection until I attain perfect enlightenment. Yeah, we can recite the full refuge and bodhicitta prayer if you want, but in terms of, just as it's stated, in terms of the blessing of speech mantras, that you simply only have to recite the first two lines of the refuge part there. And so this is often in the context of doing a highest yoga tantric practice.
Tantra practice, yeah.
Tantra in general.
Tantra practice. Rani da 가서 소소 남기 이담 소원 남네 가르치고 있으면 야네 제레스 지구 유나를 잠배 양 지구 유나를 야네 도지 직제 지구 다 가르치고 있나 라 랑디 랑 아니 동반이지 고 가사라 소소데 아니 담보 소소 지금 나 쓰겠다 나 쓰겠다 근데도 제바제 많이 받디 가 셈토션 아니 디인간래 동바 디인간래 다 간제 지금 가소려 동바 디인간래 다 간제 지금 변에 다 소선 냠내 가르치고 이거이나 루안다 변에 제레스 냠내 지금이나 아니 동바 샤 동바 디인간래 아니 지금 가서도 왜 가고 촉강 소리 싸움다 왜 가고 왜 세가고 촉 동바 디 교는 왜 가고 촉강 아니 디 용수 주발래 아니 랑 제레스 나바 삼다 요소 삼다 다음에 도지 직제 이거이나 동바 샤 동바 디인간래 왜 뭐보지 촉강 소리 아니 왜디 용수 주발래 아니 랑 도지 직제 세자 용수 소바 주수 삼사체 주수 삼사체 다 가리 말 소소 이담은 양내 가리가리 요바이나.
So in the context of doing having one's own meditational deity and doing deity yoga practice, then of course it begins with the self-generation of one into one's own personal deity. And so then whatever that deity is, you would be doing Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara practice or Manjushri practice or Yamantaka practice, and then according to the particular your own personal deity, you begin by considering and yourself to be empty of any objective existence.
아니 제가 제다 류다 셈니 para 제가 저도 나서게 니기 매버다 많이버디 가셈도 산에 아니 동바디 나래다 동바디 나래 아니 그다 저거 랑 하시잖아 랑 하차야지 고상다
So one engages in the meditation on emptiness, where one goes through the analytical process of searching for that which appears to be really objectively existent self or me in the body, and not finding it there, then considering the mind to be the repository of that self, and then looking again and just reaching that point of not finding what one was looking for, not finding that object to be negated. And then one really places one's mind on that sense of not finding, that kind of vacuum of not finding the object to be negated. And that out of that emptiness that we arise as the deity. And so, depending on the particular deity it is, for example, if it's Avalokiteshvara that we're meditating on and arising as, then that emptiness transforms into a kind of a white light, and from that light, then we arise as Chenrezig.
가서나 다딜라 디지도 가서다 디지도 동바디 치와 충고 요래 왜 가보도 봐도 쓴 거 요래. 아니 학교 봐도 깨와 주고 요와. 시와 주고 봐도 롱고 깨와 주고 쓰는. 다 근데 가서 고숨 람도 키다지. 내또 창도 것도 와. 야고 요래. 동바디 인간래 아니 바 학가리 구도에는 구도도 왜디 차르지. 왜디 봐도 최지. 아니 봐도 딜레 아니
And so, so for example, the thinking in from a tantric point of view is that when we reach that point of the emptiness, this is symbolic of death, and it is again connected to the Dharmakaya, or the wisdom body, and then. When we visualize the specific of, say, the white color, again, it's symbolic of the intermediate state, or bardo, and this is the connected to the enjoyment body. And then when we arise from that as the deity, for example, in this case, Avalokiteshvara, or the Buddha of compassion, this is representative of the, of course, rebirth, and connected to the emanation body. And so this is the process of tantric thought or thinking connected to the practice. In the context, say, of Yamantaka practice, it's exactly the same, except that the light now is a blue light, and it's from that we arise as the emanation body of Yamantaka.
딱 그래는 소설 학교에서 거면 하디 구도 도저와 다다 동바디 인간에 아니 구도 다왜 가버리다 왜 뭐보다 왜 마보다 다 이당을 하나서 정적으로 와 이다불라 배나 이 가서를 다 배나 내조만 냠내 지금 내조만 구도 마음으로 와다 동바디 인간에 왜 마보 톡하지 왜 마음으로 용수지 원에 도지 내조만 아니 제자 용수 좀 해서 다들 지금 왔다 가자 딕 가서도 이게 가서도 동바디 인간에 왜 차단데 왜 찍냐 말이야 하 민자와고 왜 민자와 가서 최신민자와 줘봐 왔다 뒤다 좀 삼단계나 야고야래.
And so it's like, of course, once one becomes familiar with the tantric kind of view, one sees that also the particular deities are connected with particular color as well, and that's why they are explained in this way. And that, and of course, the particular deities are necessary for the particular propensity or disposition, personality of that practitioner. And so, for example, if one was doing Vajrayogini practice, doing self-generation of Vajrayogini, that would be, the color would be predominantly red.
Yeah. 동바치 동바딩갈 쓰는 동바딩갈에 왜 마음을 초강치체 안디 용수 주발에 도치네 좀 많이 됐냐.
And so then, so from that emptiness would transform into a pillar of red color. From that red one would arise as the deity, as one's own, the meditational deity, Vajrayogini.
그렇죠. 다 이내 다디 인주민지 다가랑 삼다서 소소소 이담을 학가르잖아. 다 이담 그 사실 시부지 다 가서도 시부지면서 이담 그 믹서 그때 매번 다 믹서 그때 매번 이난 또 봤으면 단데 지금 동바지 갈래는 또봐 차에 삼다나 좋아 또봐 차 좋아 또봐 계셔네 지금 와 맞지 또 가만히
So rang
또봐 상게 좀 되게 계셔나 야는 때문에 자민나로 다수 전부 되디요 가서 되대 여밤에 동바지 동바지 갈래는 마음을 초강 뒤용서 주발래는 저 여밤에 계셔나 지금
So, and so if one, say for example, doesn't have a particular meditational deity, it's possible to engage in that practice through the emptiness to arise as our teacher, the Buddha, Buddha Shakyamuni. Or in the Chinese tradition where Amitabha is very prominent, who can arise as Amitabha, again through a red colouring.
Yeah. 동바딩갈에 왜 마음을 초강치 왜 마음을 용수 주발에는 겨우 밤에 검사기나.
And so to meditate about seeing ourselves as completely empty, and then to from that emptiness this kind of a column or a pillar of light, red in this particular instance, and then from that arising as Buddha Amitabha.
Yeah, what is called? 다 소소 학가지 기가 하디 깨네 아니 다 하디 자 제여봐 제여봐 안지 된도 제된도 아니 제된도 아니 거서도 다 가자지 된도 아니 거서도 이게 아지 있었다 이게 아지 있었다
And so then, as the deity, then one is at this point generated as the deity, and then from on the tongue of the deity, visualize this letter A.
그래, 다치 때도 다 가져지 이게 아치에서 아디래 아디 용수 교관에는 가서 때도 아디 그래, 다 이게 아치서부터 아디 용수 주발에 다외 긴고 제상다 아디 이게 아지 삼다 아디 교네 아니 다외 긴고 삼다 아디 다외 긴고 지를 교수 삼다지
So around the
아디 교네 교수
this also the ad then transforms into transforms into a lotus and moon disc mandala.
다외 긴고 제상다 안 다외 긴고 인데서 야용서 같이 삼다 아니 데이터도 이게 옴가고 제상다.
And then on top of that then is the white letter Om.
옴제 다 옴디 타고라 이거 옴디 타고라 아니 나 다데 가서데 산스크리트 나 다다 가서다 알리다 갈리다 데니티가서 알리사 이 우 리리 예오 아마소아스 아니 데데서 이 우 리리 아마소아스 제때도 이게 옴가버지 제때도 다 다외 긴고 때도 이게 옴가버지 옴가버디 타라 아니 다른 거지 거라데 디스잡되는지.
So we have now on the tongue of the deity the lotus and moon disc mandala, on which sits an upright white letter A or Om, and around this Om, circling in a clockwise direction, as you see on your page, the Sanskrit vowels, first of all.
omo a i u ri li e o ama swahas ama swa de 이게 samdang ane tene ta tene yang chu ta ke da de ko la de language de mo ta chigo jan yang ane di ta de la en chigo jap jan ane 가가 nga za na yara lo shaga sa haja soas oda ni ge samdang.
And then again in the same position but just outside the Sanskrit vowels are the Sanskrit consonants which are circling again in an anti-clockwise direction. And as you will see then, the third mantra on the lotus and moon disc on the tongue is the dependent arising, the mantra of dependent origination or dependent arising. And again, that is circling around the Om in a clockwise direction.
And then mugaga zaza dara bawa yara shaga sa haja so asti otenation ta kore chigoja dena omo yeda ma hido ta ta ga dai ko the bhasha mana so asti dende ngati otenation kore ta goja ota ideas cottage.
So just to review, then one sets out one's motivation and then meditating on analyzing the emptiness of one's self. From that emptiness and arising as a particular meditational deity on whose tongue sits the letter A, which transforms into a lotus and moon disc mandala, on which sits the white letter Om, around which circle the Sanskrit vowels in a clockwise direction, the Sanskrit consonants in an anti-clockwise direction, and finally around those the mantra of dependent arising in a clockwise direction.
What did the samata wata de mi gwa ya bu stage what did the samata and da yigi de sabyo yigi object wa sabyo che and nga te ta gasa 다 사병 같은 외세제 지대 지대다 마대 순가지 동가서도 부서지들 다시 다게 나보고 팀에 되니 갈래다 아이오모다 가마치 대체 소절하죠. 또 가서 알레 원비 다대나 나마 치대 아이교 대야 가마 뒤제 시제도 도제랑시 도 줄우스 오다 다간제 좀 근데 사병 이게 옵티제 아니 나제다 아다 아니 가가 자자자 되게 제 어머 얘다마 되게 나한테 대줄래 아니 왜서 봐도 매버 트네 왜 봐도 매버 트왜 봐도 매버 트네 다 지대에 되면 다 먼저 지대에 감 지대 지다 다 타입의 지대 감 탐제다 탐제의 지대다 지대에 되면 다 지대에 되네 아니 지금 파반다 기내다 아니 지금 그래서 대화제라 소바 다까지 산지기 신라 소바 다 되게 지대에 대해서 아니 송다 나게 아니 누도 탐제 송다 나게 송나게 아니 질라다 아니 되게 누바 지 투나 되게 누바 되게 건가 아니 송대 아니 배 어디 임발라 남바디 아니 배 가서다 다 부송 쳐 뭐다 부종 접에 아니 개세 다 다다디 콜리규에 개벽에 애니 다 가서 차제들이 여러 개세 리젠트 뭐 지금 나된다 개세 리젠트다 아니 다시베 다게 다다디 it's it auspicious symbol 뭐다 된대게 남발로 수요네 뭐 지대에 대베게 아니 가서 됐다 송아 진도 되게 누가 임발라 남바디 되게 가서 돼 다시 다잘라서 개세 나된다 다시 다잘 남발 마 초트네 아니 rangi 군에 팀에 오다 랑게 가서도 가서도 다들 유튜브 가서도 다들 사변다 유튜브도 막 팀소 상상제 세부 차수 참아서
So then
부위가 빼주고 돼.
네.
빼고도 부위가 빼고도
the better man. You know, because thank you so much. Because the 6 hour number. You know, so we kind of like focus then very kind of clearly on this configuration of seed syllable om and the different Sanskrit letterings, etc. around it, and we see or visualize countless rays of light emanating from the whole configuration, and that they speed out into the mundane and supramundane worlds, and so, in other words, our world here and way beyond into Buddha realms and so on, and that these kind of like utterings or these mantras and all speech is kind of blessed in this way and has the power in actuality to be the potential of these Sanskrit vowels and the dependent origination mantra to kind of bless and or kind of like make sacred all words and all language, and that they in aspect this is so the in actuality in aspect they are kind of represented by say the accoutrements or the implements of a wheel turning monarch, such as the victory banner or any of the 8 auspicious symbols, and they return and dissolve in those aspects back into the configuration of vowels and consonants and the dependent arising mantra on the tongue of the deity. And so with that dissolution, one really has this certain ascertainment of the power of really has tremendous power now on the tongue, that the tongue has been empowered by this.
Oda di ane omi la maati, omi di ane kasa daten la maati, daten di ane dagi shiden zuwa de aji wa, ane ayi la maati ba chucha, tiba chucha, ane ayi la maati zuwa
And so following this, then the process of dissolution begins. And first and foremost, we have the mantra of dependent arising, the outermost mantra on the lotus and moon disc, dissolves into the next inner one, which is the Sanskrit consonants. Having dissolved, and the consonants dissolve into the Sanskrit vowels. Then the Sanskrit vowels dissolve into the Om. The Om dissolves into the lotus and moon disc, and that reveals again the letter A, into which what's left dissolves into that A.
Ada what that diga mangama chinda ayi de chu de adia ane ma tija kama duzile kursu samsa ka bu da ma bu da ta ka kama ro da duzile de duzichila kursu samsa cha ane duzi de ma chela ma tim su samsa cha
So then the app actually, first of all, as it were, breaks up into the different colors, like white and red, etc. And they dissolve into the actual tongue.
제팀 그거다 뒤지리 주네 아니 제팀 아니 데 도지 장시도 주고 주셔서 빠증나다 된데게 지납되게 돼 남이 산제 고마 마도고 봐도다 마이가 된남에 교환메게 집에 도지 장시도 주소 삼삼삼
And that then that the tongue, as it were, has this quality of a kind of a vajra, indestructible, unchangeable quality until one attains the state of enlightenment.
어떻게 도저라시도 주소서 어떻게 아니 때는 다 지금 좋아하는 다 소소 자외라만 순대 제제네 자외라만 순대 제네는 아니 자외라만 청아도들 다 신규나 아니 청아도들 다 어떻게
At this point, then one visualizes one's root guru and makes a supplication to one's root guru and recites the name mantra of one's root guru, if one is aware of that.
베네 자오름제 생각하자 오마 그룹 변자다라 문주시라 오긴자 수마데 샤찬다라 사무데 시바다 세데 홍홍스 또 베네 자오름 붙인 자벨라마이네 자오름 붙인 생각하자 사 어떻게
For example, as Genla has recited the name mantra of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, if the Dalai Lama is one's root guru.
야 어떻게 야 오마 그룹 변자다라 오긴자 문주시라 오긴자 수마데 샤찬다라 사무데 시바다 세데 홍홍스 또 어떻게 다가자 되더라 그래 베제되는 때다 지장에 너를 요새는 내가 남겨 사대게 손도 너르기도 와
So I advise you that's to be found in texts, of course, and you can find out for yourself. Sometimes when I'm reciting, I can make mistakes in my recitation.
pena lama docha jinja ngolo sa tezi jazu jing kuzu du jing labdo pena pe ke tone lama jinja ngolo sa tezi jazu peso kuzu du jing labdo so so lama doje chang ane jizu jamba ngolo sa tezi jazu jing labdo oda ko ken ta tigre ke ma oda ga je oda de zawe lama tsenga ra zawe lama tsenga sa ane so de che oda de che
So reciting the name mantra of one's root guru and making supplication.
ane dene da kan je 되는 가서다 다 가져 지금 그냥 다 남게 되어 지게 lumba라 다 둘다지를 찾지 백김자 장마서 담도 안 담은 다 그냥 보여다 자가 되어이나 쇼가 야라 찾은 가봐 장마서 그러 왔다 이게 참아케는 장마서 그러 백김이 요 말에 장마서 그러 왔다 왔다 아니 저 장마서를 간다 최shum네 건가 쇼가셔가 건가 장마서 아니 뒤바 아니 저 괜히 장마서 위에서 잡아야 랑을 룽아에서 뒤바 마차고 요 삼사체네 아니
Next comes the cleaning of one's room. And Genla says, well, the Western traditions, they do it once a week, but in Asia and in other countries, often it's as soon as you get up in the morning, you do that sweeping and dusting of your place. And it's particularly relative to one's place of practice here, that one keeps it clean and tidy. And it's a practice as well, as one sweeps, as one dusts, one is cognizant of cleaning away one's own negativities and one's own obscurations and so on, as one is doing it. So this is a practice when one is aware of that. One is a practice. This is a practice of purifying negativities.
먼저 괜히 통하데 디베트보래 상계 공부 톱잖아 괜히 쳐는 요 말이야 괜히 저거한테 쳐는 요 왔다 요 말이 강가에 이동화 차대로 강가에 그래서 다바람지 차대요 강가에 대화되게 차대로 동해되게 지어요 괜히 동해되게도 와 나사에 쏘고도 와 동해되게도 와 먹기와 용고도 와
So in a way, the fact that we need to clean is significant of the fact that we are creatures, ordinary beings with negativities to purify. You know, you don't have any cleaning to do once you're enlightened, and in those enlightened realms, it's just happiness. There's no suffering, of course. There's nothing to be done in that regard.
디모고도 베나 디모고 뭐좀 콜을 찾아외네 베나 순간벨하 뭐 되벨하 되벨할 야게 차되 되벨할 게서 하이 치대 마보고 봐도 장마 쉬죠 봐 수부 두고 뭐 장마 쉬죠 봐 라진 좀 쉬고 요 봐. 是吧 다 뒤에 하이 손은 마 세한테 아니 치대 포스나 아니 동해 쉬죠 다 남주 장마 되는 저거 통데 배 마치 봐 쉬죠 안 되고 다 디가 손은 또 쳐보 사be 또 그러고 손은 또 쳐보 사be 전 하게 랑기 류를 왜 요래 아니 그래서 롱제티게도 소수 대반에서 용하요래 아니 손은 봐 세죠 다디고 삭제고 손은 이 뭐이사 그 남시랑 그제 매번 찾고 그러와 안 되죠 아니 막 동해 되게 연구도 와 저거 되게 연구도 와.
And so, even of course, within cyclic existence, even within the desire realm, celestial beings, of course, as is well known, they live an extraordinary high kind of standard of living, whereby they are in kind of in luxury for such a long life. And they never have to wash the body. The body emanates a natural, beautiful scent and aroma, and so there's no cleaning to be done. There's no anything like that. It's just a life spent in sport and in enjoyment. But of course, once the merit that one has gained to attain such a rebirth runs out or is running out, one in that life begins to become aware of what are known as the signs of impending death, and this brings tremendous suffering to those beings, because for the very first time their body starts to sweat, for example. Their clothes begin to fade, their garlands of flowers are old and faded, etc. And so this brings tremendous mental suffering, because they've become accustomed to being sort of like perfect for so long. And now they're imperfect, and there's nothing they can do about it. And so this is because the merit that they accumulated to attain such a rebirth is known as contaminated merit, and as such is always going to run out.
어디로 다 가지 되게 되버려. 다 이거 말서 단도 도나 연구요 말이면 또 저거 통화대다 저보다 되게 그런가 가서는 되게 되고 차 되게 요래.
And so that shows really that the fact that we have dirt and dust accumulating is the fact that they really are results of negativity. We normally don't pay attention to this at all, but one must conclude that a dirty house is the result of negativity.
다 되게 장마수요 갈라 소소 강바의 장마수요 선선의 소소 뒷바트 뒤바 차고요 삼사자와 이나고 도다 야치하고 강바 장마들랑 수요 되거든.
And so of course we clean our houses, and as a matter of course, but to be able to instill that activity with the mental action of thinking that we are purifying our negativities adds more meaning to something that we have to do anyway.
아니 하도도 다 냠내 지금 지뭐이나 아니 랑기다 지금 장마도 소지도 다 지금 랑기다 지금 이것도 다 냠내 근데 지금 다 지금 그것도 파지티브 돈에 냠내 지금나 상하 냠내 자다 근데 지금나 파지티브 돈다 산제다 자주 선바도 제자고 요래 아니 상하 냠내 지금은 언제 그것도 다 랑기 라마도 이다 추주 송마도 제자고 요래 제장사게 내데 장마 계시 버려도 와 아니 되게 최래도 와 미게 닝제부터 그래 야부터 그래서는 대사 말이죠. 먼저 점점 남게 도나처럼 맞아. 아니 냠내 지도 도나게 연구해 말다. 미스타와 연구해라. 아니 시부 장마서네. 아지 그거를 제도 시부 제도. 그래. 점점 다 야부들에 대해 최착입니다.
So this is a practice for us, this cleaning of our place. And whatever kind of practice we are about to engage in, if it's in the context of the perfection vehicle, of course we will be inviting the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. If it's in the context of a tantric practice that we are subsequently going to engage in, we will be inviting the meditational deities to our place. And so for that reason, it's important that we are going to have a clean place for them to enjoy. And this only stands to reason because we all are aware of the fact of if you have a new person arriving at your house and our guests about to arrive, we often go into a frenzy of cleaning, isn't it? We want to clean things anyway, so we want to create a good impression, isn't it, for our guests. And so the guests of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and meditational deities should be even more impressed by how clean we have our place of practice. And likewise, because of the fact that we are not only purifying negativities in the course of our cleaning, but we are also doing so in order to invite very, very special guests. And just as, when we are cleaning for good friends who are about to arrive, close relatives that are about to arrive, we clean the house. We try to clean the house with a certain delight, with a certain determined purpose and delight. And even more so when we're actually preparing to invite guests who are central to our being able to attain definite happiness in the future, the ultimate purpose of life. Then we should be have an attitude of real delight and celebration when we're engaging in our cleaning activities, that we're really, really delighted and happy to do so because of the special guests that will be coming to enjoy our company. So when we are engaging in any activity which is considered to be a very important purpose, we're able to put our effort into that, isn't it? Without getting tired, without getting bored, without getting exhausted or anything. But we have a certain delight in what we're doing. And of course that makes it an action of enthusiastic effort, one of the 6 perfections.
ane pe sa gene pe rimba gusma gene dene ane chida shinje khatang de yeding chi de samta ane chida di khalama yabjen ma lu su sang rang digba de ba ane chida di pe sen samsa cha ta digba de pe ta ane danzin denzi ba cha de jwa me ba cha su samsa cha ane chida khatsum chen ane dun namya ta me khala doji jam chen 다 뒤남에 다행이면 맞춰서 사대 수칙수 삼사지 어디에 삼단계나 세주에 그래 디바 자에 아니 세도스링아 돼.
And so we have dusted and we have collected all the dust, and we are taking the dustpan to the dust bin and placing or dumping the dust into the dustbin. And as we are doing so, we are very aware that I am now disposing of my negativities and obscurations into the dustbin, and that this is not just a dustbin, but it opens up.
Dustbin samlo matang wa lue dustbin alu samlo ta de rang sa de pa gene rang sa de dung sa de pa gene rimba kusma gene ni ting de me chida sin je khatang de ge.
And so the as if the earth opens up beneath that, and the dust and the negativities and fall into that a crack in the earth, under which is the Lord of death, with the mouth open wide, facing right up, and as devouring all of this negativity and obscuration that you have deposited, and is really kind of disposing of that completely, and that includes the elements of self-grasping and self-cherishing, and the imprints related to those as well. And then the mouth closes over, and very, very tightly, and then we visualize that it's sealed with a double Vajra, double Dorje, so that it will never need to open or release those negativities again. We feel that they're completely and utterly gone.
Yeah, okay.
And this is also a practice which is good for the lengthening of life, a long life. And then the earth, of course, closes over as well. So if you don't close the earth over, then you might fall in when you go walking.
missing the namje di on khoya dikba data ka thapsi bu che to ka tu ku thapsi che.
And we should be using our human intelligence, that which really distinguishes us as human, to use many and every possible means to visualize or to think of our negativities being purified.
What is it? Because also gewe chola niwashira mundwa. 배주자 땅도 다 미개가 저러는 것도 배 가서 스마트가 다 디도스 레스 기회 저거 스마트 소프트웨어이나.
So we really have to kind of like train ourselves in the process of virtue, because when it comes to non-virtue, we don't have to put any effort in. It's already there, well established. We naturally slip into our non-virtue, but we have to kind of really assist the virtuous side of life, and to really strengthen and train that side of life, so that we become habituated to virtue. And so so once we do it, twice we do it, and we make a habit of continually doing it, and before long naturally it will become our first choice of action, even that in our dreams.
아니 제도 아니 저 랑기 지고 거둘라 아니 배 가서라 닦아져 저 닦아져 저로 딱 간도 봐도 매 봐지 간주게 아니 배 추수고 요 삼사전 추수 아니 랑기 류가 예수가 디고 많이 다 봐지 요 삼사전 막 제 뒤에 아니 가다 소태 잠마제 뒤에 뭐다 됐지.
And so then we, having cleaned the room, we clean our own bodies, and we are taking a shower or washing. Then we can also visualize that we have the dakinis in the sky, in the space above us. Then pouring this kind of cleansing nectar as showering us with it, so that it's not just cleaning us physically, but of course, again, purifying negativities, obscurations, and so on in our system. And they have like their vase, and then the pouring this is a highly cleansing nectar on us.
다디 나데 당도네 야고요. 나도 아리암 들염 비만나세. 가서 우주마 마하 도다 홍페스. 왔다 나데 저기 줘. 담 그때 나데 신은 마도 마신은 또 매바체티. 매바체는. 당문에도 디바도 다고요 섬사잖아.
There's a particular mantra that goes with this as well, Genla says, but even if one doesn't have that mantra, one can really have the visualization, the imagine that this is happening.
투요 삼자 디바다 마다고요 what sometimes
So whether you put on makeup after that, I don't know again.
안단데 저기 학교도다 랑 디시보도 산제의 장주 서바줄로 주와피에 그러와 주주가 아니 랑다 저와가 선제 수요가 있는 되게 디시보가 주와피에 왔다 들어 삼로 당에 있는 거 그거 봐.
So again, if one is applying makeup or creams or perfumes, that again one adds as much meaning to that as one can. And so one is not doing so just for oneself, but one is making the body very aromatic in order to be of benefit to others. Because people are, not normally really kind of like very impressed by BO, but that if you add some perfume, that can be pleasing to somebody else who gets a whiff of that. And and yet you're making this an offering to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as well, whatever you want to add in terms of makeup and so on. So again, adding a meaning to what you're doing.
아니 되네 지금 추차소나 아니 지bol이 이제 칸도 되게 되네 랑을 류라 텐네 아니 징글 랍소사 되다 디스로션 랑을 류라 팀소 삼사지 아니 징글 랍소 삼사지.
And so at the conclusion of the showering and the washing, and that one can visualize that the dakinis who have been offering blessing in the form of the nectar and so on, that they dissolve into you at the end of that as well.
다들 이 가서 되긴 되가 장마데 소여서 어느 소소를 리든 저 장마 추 라바데 장마 추데도 아니 신의 최와피나 최와피 아니 최와데다 그나 지금 가서 다 매도 다 도비에다 다간데 신의 지 가서래 아니 지금 신도 다 베스코다 다가 지금 가리 여바 있네 바 장마 야고지 야피 아니 셔바 개 매와 있네 아니 거기 이제 추빈에 지와 이제 장마 야고지 이제 피 야.
So then once our place is clean and we are clean, our hands are clean, and then we can start the making of offerings. And so the can be flowers or fruit or biscuits or whatever we have in terms of offering. And if we have nothing, then we can make the offering of water bowls using clean water.
아니 대대 되게 딕바데 마차고 삼사전 아니 자 다저 산제의 자주 서발에 배추가 피우고다 국업이요 삼사 소소소 깨와서 뭐 삼사전 왔다 대전다 왔다 저 같이 조심하네 치치네 대표 아니 자 다들 말로 좀 되고다 티라이트 가서 캔들라이트 티라이트 쓰려야지 근데 라이트 좀 피내줘다 니가 배배나 다 줄어도 그는 예봐도 세 저 카다 저거들 매버지 카다 저 사수로 한번 매지에 내가 여러 봐 그러다 네가 저 추가돼서 다 가서 됐다 요 매버지는 다 주요 꿀릉구요 디게트 매버지는 요 매버지는 뭐다 간자 지금 미인도 하고 통글해서 되게 개점을 했는데 탐정도 산제 고마토에도 주와 비교 삼삼전 데레다 두바 연구래 와다 니 주와 비교 되는 매버지는 두바 연구 와다 지금도 프랙티셔너리 있던 거지 두바 미션 위시터 된데 연구나 와다 주와 비교 남녀 도나 매버지는 저는 거 디체도 저도 주바나 책임도 와
So Yana says then, so when you're doing the water offering, water bowl offerings, again you bring to that practice the same thinking, the same opportunity for practice as much as you possibly can to every aspect of it. For example, like it will start by cleaning each bowl in turn, and that you are cleaning again not just the bowl, but you are purifying negativity, purifying obscuration of your own, and that you are making the offering as perfect as you can, as carefully bringing as much mindfulness to that particular practice as you possibly can. Again, using simple tea lights for the offering of light and so on, but being very aware of fire danger and so on, that you don't leave them lighting when you leave, or place them near something that is very flammable, or else you'll have the house burning down. So you got to be very fire aware as well, and that just brings more mindfulness to it, and that you are also making sure that you are creating an altar and a place of practice with your offerings as beautiful as you can make it. But it's not for you. It's not for some kind of visitor that might come in and be very impressed with your altar. But you're purely, and keep this in mind, as an offering to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas.
One set so do what that what the sort of puggy in that and then a tea like chicken like chicken. What the center, Yinayata, Dick Bear, Casodo, Jerry Pukia, Jara Maiba, Jamaiba Maiba, Pechicaso the Casodo, do that draw, to the other, to the said something. Majas, Judge and a girl. Yeah, telling than a girl, what the general, because of the could be said a butch, but to jig up and net until the 2 euro to the 6, what the general bounty butcher. What is preacher?
And so that when one is making the water bowl offerings, one uses bowls of the best quality that one can afford, so with like gold if one can afford it, silver or glass. But of course, if one hasn't got that available, that really any quality bowl is fine. One offers a set of 7 bowls as one water bowl offering, and then one can offer also tea lights, and that there's a strict way in which one makes the water bowl offerings when one is placing the bowls down next to each other, that they should not be too far away or too close. If they're touching, that is considered a fault. If they're too far away, that's also considered a fault. So the specific measure of the width of one grain of one grain seed, whether it's a wheat seed or a barley seed, that is the distance apart that the bowls need to be at the top.
And the Tomba Premier, that's some of the Chutos Lujan, Chutix is Yovajan, Chutis, Tomba May Bajan, Chutix is Yovajan, Pitambutinus, Bounty, and Dix other and Chushuakalta, the Shuaka Labaniga, India's May Bajan, Labaniga, Unetaneg, Sage the charges of a 20 years, push up to the 2 years, some such.
And again, that the bowls should never be placed on the table empty, but that each has a small portion of water poured in first and then laid down in line, and then one begins at the beginning and pours the rest up to close to the top of the bowl, but again as demonstrating, not like casually with one hand, but carefully with 2 hands holding your jug or whatever you're using, not just to be careful, but also as respect, as if you're making this offering again to those who are extremely important Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
What is it? That is the music near sort of share down taking so what did my budget? Munetane, because Canada, Saga Sangata, what did it done? Then it jumped to the subject of the Durchin. What did it? Munetane, what did it? Munetan Sangi Janjus of Peven, what did it? But that was so good as you what that was so good at you some such. What is it? And the Tambo shook some mamma, Tambo shook George, and then I shook Chet, and Carlo, and shook that because do Nation, go the New York, they shoot the New York. What in Nature? Tambo George and Chet, Chumalu. 아니 내가 강로지도 총다 아니 강 치와 많이 봐 마강와 많이 봐 처를 못 딱다지 그랬죠.
And that, and so again, one should be fully present when one is engaging in the practice of water bowl offerings, not with headphones on, listening to music or something like that, but one is fully present. Again, present because one is aware of making an offering to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who one believes are actually present, and one can actually use the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha as one is making the water bowl offerings, and again pouring in a specific way as well, and again this is saying represented by the shape of a grain seed, which is like narrow at both ends, and again it's kind of fatter in the middle, and then so the pouring will be very light at the start, and then you increase at the middle, and then pull back at the end. So that one is having a careful finish to the pour. And also, if we can visualize that our bodies are emanated into kind of countless bodies, and those in turn into countless sentient beings present with us, emanating, and all doing the water bowl offering together. That's very good.
And the managing the Casada Reta, teacher, and the nerdy corsa. That did any delight the put and the Casada, show up here that what says your run, Mabushayo Marwa, that you got the Casode Mabushayo Marte, in a rango lawyer, tie about doing it. And how don't rango do some saving, Gesak and Chevy Susan doing it. And about tie about it, didn't come down the can. What did it show up here, some such?
Now we bring the same level of mindfulness and care when we're making a tea light offerings or incense offering or anything else that we're doing. And of course, we're knowing that there is a limit to the amount of physical offerings that we can fit into our space and make. But there is no limit to the amount of offerings we can do with our imagination. So we're actually offering all beautiful, perfect, pure things possible to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, including all of our root virtues as well. And we make that sort of imagination offering from our imagination.
What Taya was doing, what I choba in the building, and because of the dark, because of the and choba to get and choba because of the dark, Taya was doing that, and it chebe timbungo song. Chebe timbungo song, doing that, choba ya prison, and number in a time, no more power to possess the died of busy mobs and martyrs and marbias, marble, the cedar, the marble, with the sauce, chebe timbungo song, the Sarsum.
And so, with that, then is the place in which one uses the offering cloud dharani, longer version of a mantra. I don't know whether it's included there. That again increases the power of the offerings that one is making.
And then that metal that chicken metal begotua, metal the yoba in there, metal pit, that never in there, Negaska Yomata. Negaska Yomata, what is in Takaja, Yoba in a pit, never in there, Negaska Yomata, and chicken come to the Yapu, the metal in a Yoba. And the Loy Lani. Rangi do some Jexatilla Dene, and chicken come to and Loy Lani, and do some, but Jay come to the Loy Lani, and it's my guess in the town jet.
And of course flowers, which are very common in the West. It's very good to be able to offer flowers as well. But if you don't have, that's not a problem. But again, one has the opportunity to do so, and again to visualize that one is able to offer such flowers accompanied by countless sentient beings. Making these offerings.
Also,
indeed, in all all the offerings of all the worlds that one can
World system,
make
world.
all world systems. One can make those offerings.
다 월드 직말에 지대가 타이어요 봐. 지대가 지와 차자. 동성의 지대 감탐제. 야비고 요섬서 좀.
And so, yeah, there's not just one world, but as it's often said, 3 countless world systems. That one is making countless worlds of offerings.
我的那这个야표 아니 최배 정부 송도스도 타이어바치. 다 랑 로이로 마셔 봐. 타이어바치. 상당히 what
And that accompanied with the offering cloud, Dharani, again increases the efficacy of those offerings, and something that we clearly can't comprehend in our own minds.
다 이제 매도 표현에 매도 양 같은 요다 원나무 바가 비비 기도라자야 다다가다야 알아가다 상부다야 다야다 비비 소 우다게 비비 그래서 아와 가라니 소상 매도 표현 나타도 다 간제 가이나면 왔다 간제 주변 좀 보고 손도스도 나한테 좋아하는 저 맞아 다 간제 미바토네 어디서
And so again as pointing out, there are mantras to accompany each offering, and this particular case is the mantra associated with the offering of flowers. And again, to do as much as we can, to use the imagination as much as we can to make the offerings that we have as effective as possible.
아니 내가 처음에 다기 대배시면 다 소소가 대배군들한테 시합에 아니 마음에 들 아니 상계다 자주 선반으로 최도 상계점은 아니 샘제 남제에서 아까서 상계 자주 선반으로 최도 다 소남지 아니 상계 자주 선반으로 최발을 되는 하나 소남 쪽으로 다 소남지 다 깨와 탐제도 아니 시력이 마음에 들때 맞죠 샘제 탐제 머리비 민배 탐제 세워 쇼치 소왔습니다.
And so that we, with a motivation of faith, make these offerings of the water bowls, etc., as have been, have just been described, and again through the merit that has been accumulated from these offerings, we visualize it as kind of like making like a butter lamp offering, that through that it's transformed into the kind of the light of wisdom of what we need in our life. And so, and that this light of wisdom, symbolized by the butter lamp, which is symbolic of our merit, that it serves to eradicate the ignorance of all sentient beings, to enlighten. And indeed, every time we make an offering, particularly of light, of a butter lamp, or even a candlelight, that we can accompany with this kind of aspiration, this kind of prayer, would be very good. And so then, whether we invite them or not, the Buddhas are always here, but we go through the motion of making this invitation in the course of making our incense offering, and that accompanying like the purifying of the area through our incense, that we also engage in the offering or the invitation verse, and that we invite all the Buddhas to come from their pure realms to be with us. And that they really have come, they really have arrived. We feel that.
다데 어디지 아니 되네 다 가져대 줘봐도 표 아니 되네 도선 조조쇼가 라마다 조조 차가 대제비다 시도냐가 루트 차자로스 다 가져제 다 랑기 류 타이야 봐주 아니 뒤에 타고 심지어 타데 여자 차숨체 주가 표상 차숨체 차제가 온 나무지 나무 수시 나무 우다마시를 소스 어디지 차숨체 혼자.
So then we again do 3 prostrations, and again prostrations, emanating countless bodies to do these prostrations, and in the presence of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and then using the particular prostration verse of Namo Manjushri and Namo Shushri and so on as we do our prostration.
Namo Manjushri, Namo Sushri, Namo Utamashiri so. 나무 우다마시를 쏘았죠. 와다데 나무지 나무 단 남중에 돈다 전 지금 나무면서 나무 우다마시서 라마조 산쇼를 지도라 잡수 채웠어. 그렇죠.
And so I was kind of saying then with as he's pointing out doing the Nam Shushri and so on. And so the first prostration is to Gendunda. And so you recite, I'm going for refuge to the Guru, and then with that again, at the end of that particular mantra, I go for refuge to the Buddha, I go for refuge to the Dharma, I go for refuge to the Sangha, and so on. And again, being cognizant of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 realms, 10 directions being present for these prostrations.
간제 단다 최바표와 될라때네 다 최바표와 될라때네 산제의 자주 선배 최바디 시수 삼사제 최바디 시수 삼 최바디 시발라때네 투줄라 대화 중 대외 동반년 대통령 수매 시라기로 개바 중수 삼사제.
And as a result of our offerings, our efforts and offerings thus far, we are also aware of this creating great delight in the minds of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, that they, through that bliss arising, are able to abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and emptiness. And so we reflect on the kind of emptiness of the actual act of offering, the recipients of those offerings, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the material of the offering, and the one doing, the agent, myself, making these offerings, that they are all actually empty of any kind of objective existence and merely imputed by thought, and that we reflect on that too.
And then that's also breakfast
Then breakfast time.
Then breakfast that's also breakfast and breakfast sasuna and time Juna to be down to the same jet as the Comtix Japnetics Jetuna Yaborata, Namjoso Katichiguna check and Sanga on should get an end to do la manager that jump to the same jet and to do la manager to what is check.
And so then, following that, then we engage in whatever our level of practice is. We can sit and do our refuge, bodhicitta, and in particular meditate on a particular subject that we have chosen. If we are doing a particular tantric practice, this would be a time when we fulfill our commitments, doing our particular meditational deity session, the 6 sessions, etc. At this point.
다 남주 레갈 도구가 잡았다 디제사도 아니 거기 요구도구나 잠도 sem제자는 곰 팀비 시작 어다 그래서 그래서 겁잖아 아니 되네 아니 고노 야고 주잖아 레갈 도상 뒤로 아니 레갈 도야 갈래는 모자데 날 간톡도게 최고도라 삼로 당전.
And so that following, of course, those who work will at that point try to do their practice as best they can in the time that they have. They're certainly going through refuge and bodhicitta, and then may need to go to work. But try to bring the motivation that you have generated with you as you drive to work, and as best as possible to keep that pure, virtuous mindset to the fore throughout the day.
산에 자주 써봐 탐자를 치와 표잖아요. 안 되게 징글랍소 삼사잖아. 질랍수도 쉬에체 어디르체.
And again, anytime we are eating, that we initially make an offering of that food to the Buddhas, and make our offering prayer, and feel that we have received the blessing of the Buddha on that because of that.
어디르체. 아니 칼라사고에 대해 아니 소설 류를 스무드도 집었다고 요 삼사잖아. 집었다고 요 삼사죠. 어쩌죠.
And so that food that we are consuming is, and to really see it as a medicine, and also as an act of generosity to all the living organisms that abide and reside in our bodies as well.
아니 소소소 불에 대단히 구여와다 대저 집었다고 요 삼사자 단단 사생게 저마다 마오발 추 집었다 도와줘 땅에 교를 도와줘 상당
and to really feel that this is going to make that food, digest well, and to be have its full positive effect in our bodies. That this food that I'm partaking of now is an act of generosity to all those beings within. I pray that in the future I will be able to give them the gift of Dharma.
어디를 삼부당 제제 어디를 다만에야 쇼가 검잡 서제 쇼자사기에나 아니 검잡도 아니 즉 가서데 다 가서데 또봐 다 나중에 대체는 또밖에 아니 또봐 다 가서데 제한타라는 니가 거든 안들 추가 피고 요 삼사대 지금 왔는데 그런 검잡이 집어나 남주 때 또봐 제한타제 아니 라는 니가 거든 또봐 내 되게 봐
And also in the morning for our breakfast and so on, we can do the visualization that we commonly do of inviting the Buddha to the crown and then down through the heart center, and being abiding there on a lotus moon and sun disk mandala. And that when we are having our breakfast, that we're making this as a direct offering to the Buddha at our heart center. So the point being that we use every kind of activity, whatever we're engaged in, eating or drinking or cleaning or whatever we're doing, to transform that into a spiritual practice.
아니 어디든지 아니 저기 야라도만 매대다 다 가서도 찬자와도 주의샤와 제수이라 우리 교조도 탐대다가 저다 야라도바 강창상지 아니 저기 다 치가서 뭐 개보도 되고게 내가 쇼 전다데 강창상지 야라도는 다 같이 차 그러와 가서 야 차체 그러와 아니 주바 피에 차 주지 샤바지 아니 소저기 통화 되고 샤바지 찬자와도 주지 샤바 아니 가서데 산제의 장주 세바타 아니 지금 예라다 아니 지금 근데 샘쟁이 개와다 제수 이나치 믹싱이 라한다 시다 참고매 되게 제수 개와 믹싱이 제수 이나치 어떻게 찾아와 주시 제수다 구시소이 아니 지금 지대 감다 타에 봐줘 그냥 가실래는 다야 지가서 샘쟁이 된도 그게 지금 기부 담아줘 양 지 가서도 다양 공부 줘야 되겠는데 공부 못 줘도 생각이 된다. 아니 쇼네 근데 가서도 편바 두고 제스다 수대지에 그거 가서 저 제수이라 꾸시서 꾸하기. 맞다. 가서도 나가는 미터 소하다. 아니 안 최소로 좀 꾸마지에. 어디지? 아니 어디지? 아니 겨서 저도 뭐야. 야라도만 멘트해 주고 어디지? 아니 우리 호라한테서 시에서 나가는 미다와 시에서 삼사 어디를 제대 개침이 말이야. 좋아? 샤바지도 디과샤도 디과군에 다 삼사치. 안 초밥도 초밥군에 시에서 삼사치. 그렇지 여러 다 반제 아니 어디를 젠다 제수이랑 디가되보다 제수이랑 제가 되는 시 그것을 겨라 차도다 나게의 시랑 개매버 차고 왔다 야고시 중 삼사치 그러다 신 겨라 제수이랑 저 장을 겨와 되는 신 용어들이 겸상도 와. 어디르자 아니 나가려면 써와도 나가려면 시기 시에서 안 저거 꾸러지도 안 쪼고에 문에 시기 시에서 삼사체 그래 어디르자
And then we make do the practice of the seven-limbed practice and the offering of mandala, and that to including the offering of prostration, paying homage, and then making of offerings and the purifying of negativities, the accumulation, the rejoicing in virtue, not just our own, but all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all holy beings, and particularly rejoicing in the virtue of those who we dislike, who we don't get on with, and to really genuinely rejoice, and to really consider all the holy beings in the world, that they will remain for a long time to benefit us, and to not pass into parinirvana, but to stay and to turn the wheel of Dharma for the benefit of sentient beings, and then to dedicate all the virtue that we have accumulated, and at all times really to, not just to be reciting this kind of practice in a very quick way just to get it over with, but to not just either to consider the meaning behind the words, but also actually to be cognizant of the benefits of being able to, for example, rejoice, and when we are really delighted in another's accomplishments, there is no chance of being jealous or envious or angry and so on. So we can see how much of a counter force it is to have these positive mindsets as well, and to see that the practical benefit of engaging in this kind of thought.
And da yala do mente da jo da mente gebu chune ya bori gebu ma chune da sa chi bishi chune re sa yo do na da jo ba ji dan ko da na ma da la ga ni ya da sa da gi tu so ge za de ge mente ya pyu da mente pyu de ane de so de chi bu su gu ko ne pyu de chi bu su ra ge ta shin ni la ma gu ba ne je ne chin ji lo lo na tham che ka ye ane je shin ni la gu ba ne je ne chin ji lo na chin ji ma lo lo na tha ja ra ju le ge ta chin ji ma lo ba sa ta to ni to be shira la so ba de cha sa ra ju le ge and they gave a and get chinangan a chin now, some budget of the Shiwachi, and that doing Chibusubu, but children met a.
And so we then can do the 7 limb practice and the offering of the mandala, and this can be the extensive mandala or the brief mandala, starting with the verse starting with Sashi Poki and making the offering of mandala, and again to make the mandala offering in the context of what are known as the 3 great purposes. And the first is being aware of any negativity that we have accumulated from showing any disrespect to our guru, to grasping at the two truths, at the true nature of reality, and to make sure that is we're completely devoid of that negativity, and any virtue that we have created from following the instructions of our guru up to realizing the true nature of reality, and also thirdly that we would be free, that making this mandala offering is free of any inner or outer obscurations as well.
Outer secret.
And secret obscurations. So
what did it say? And then that's what did it say? And the legal draw with another. Some just so is 2 by Nati, or teacher of my something. Yes, some time the Sanja Kuma to me said, what something did it, they want to watch it.
And so again, when we go out into the world and to work and so on, following these kinds of practices, that we bring as much as possible of that into our lives, so that when we see any sentient being, we are reminded of that they are a kind mother sentient being, and that my motivation is to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And this is one of those. This is one of those beings. There's another one, and so on. And that you're reminded and bring to recognize for yourself that these are the kind of the field of sentient beings for whom I am working.
And the tradition, so never give a in a papa to be something, never give a never letting it, but to be something.
And with our motivation as well, to really up the ante in our motivation to determine that even if someone harms me, I will only bring benefit to them. I will respond to that harm with benefit towards them. And that can be established as a mantra for us, that if harm comes to me, I will respond with benefit. If harm comes to me, I will respond with benefit. If harm comes to me, I will respond with benefit.
점점 만들어라 만들어 찍까 돈다처럼 하고 요 말 만들어 좋아. 티 돈다데 딱다도가. 손내가 제발 레벨인데 페버투비. 내가 제발 레벨인데 페버투비스나. 그 돈다데 하고 그 프랙티컬도.
It's probably very useful again, it says, because often the mantras that we do recite, we don't know what they mean. But this one, the meaning is very clear. So, if harm comes, I will respond with benefit. If harm comes, I will respond with benefit.
어디에 삼았다. 어디에 아니 되네. 다 거두이네 잘하잖아. 그러잖아. 아니 되네. 차도 건다 조연이야. 소소 야 냠내 못되는 제. 그런 나도 주주다. 냠내 못되는 거지 지금 제. 아니 이거 칼라도 건다 칼라가 집어래. 다 삼아 주바비 진라비 주도. 삼로다 집어제. 아니 건다 제바젠다 내가 나가도 제바제는 얘들이 심지어 코네 된 쪽이 슬람도 다 제도 제모도 제바제. 제도나 빼하고 좀 쓰는 거네. 다다데 가사 지금도 다다데 가사데 삼성 인터넷에 걸었대 유튜브에 된날 야구도나 그 디렉트도 야구도 디렉트도
like dislike
야구 좀 디렉트 그러나 야 디렉트 오다 야구 중샤 다 심지어 산재 공부도 교류 좋았다 중모도 베사샤 노샤 삼사전 아니 교생견은 샤통치.
And so then you bring, again, it's very important to revisit that morning's motivation again and again throughout the day. So that in whatever situation you're in, that it is preceded by and informed by that motivation as much as possible. And of course, at set times when you're having lunch or you're having an evening meal or any snack, again, you're making the first thing is to offer that food to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas before partaking of it, and bring as much of that food offering thinking to the fore when you're eating. When you return in the evening, then it comes to the time before sleep. One engages in the important practice of checking how well you did during the day. So you had this very lofty motivation in the morning, and that you had promised yourself to do, give everything of body, speech, and mind, and your root virtues, and all the objects of use and so on, for the benefit of sentient beings. And so the question you now ask is, how did that work out? Did you really do that for sentient beings? And you are very, very honest here, in the sense of that when you had good interactions with people, when you engaged in virtue and helped benefit sentient beings, that you are really are delighted for yourself in doing that. Like they have on Facebook, you give yourself a thumbs up, a like, for everything that went well in terms of benefiting others unequivocally, and that you are, how do you say, very conscientious about giving yourself that tap on the back, that, yep, that went really well, I'm going to do more of that tomorrow. But equally so, and then you recall during the day when things didn't go as planned, when you didn't live up to your motivation, and when you engaged in negativity and you really regret, say, that was a bad move, a bad choice, a bad judgment, and I not only regret that, I purify. You engage in a process of purification, and you resolve to sort that out the next day. And that practice of purification, there are set practices involving the confession of downfalls and the recitation of the 100-syllable Vajrasattva mantra and so on, that you use to purify.
녀우로다 녀대 어다 니 정도 녀스 마이메잖다 지금 냠레 못는 제발라 안 수부티 도스고다 녀수소에 제도 녀수에 제도다 어떤 냠레 제마디 야보용에 제도 디제도 한다 녀수고 제도 니고 삼사자.
And so then it comes to sleep, and so you don't take the attitude that, oh gosh, I'm a bit sleepy now, I think I'll go to bed. But your attitude again is connected to your spiritual practice. You say, I need a fit body, I need a fit mind to engage in spiritual practice. So now I'm going to give mind and body a break and take some sleep in order to refresh myself, to engage in a day of spiritual and virtuous practice again tomorrow.
아니 대 예배 갑래네 아니 지 깡바데서도 산제 구자부터다 아니 배 지 산제 풍도 우리 섬에서 되게 구다 되게 되게 고개서 지 어디는지 아니 냐다데 되는지 좀 되다 군냥을 되다 되다시 어디는지
and to rest if you can in the position that the Buddha took when he was entering into parinirvana, as Gena demonstrated, with the right hand under the right cheek and lying on the right side.
아니 되네 산제가 윤대도 된 심배도다 이제 난 좀더 니 교만 니람 야고면서 손 신하자오들 되어이나 아니 산제가 구방 가라 소주 고샤네 고샤 인터스 얘기다 산제가 저 회세트는 산제가 징글라면 딱 고수도 그 징글랍소 서서지 아니 산제가 차가 어머니 마음서 어머니 스타르드 야나 시련이 마다야 다 가데가데 바라가데 벌송가데 보디어서 나도 윤대 제 나게 돈다 대심에 권에 장기 이제 이거 소나 야고다 이제 어선이 가르치고 되는데 돈다 삼으시라 마땅하 제제 기회 줘라 삼로 당전 이제 스토어되면이나 아니 가서데 니디 개와 차도라 산니 니 마세바도 개와 차도야 니디 롱마 됐어 개와를 줘 미개와를 줘 롱마 됐어 와.
And then when we're actually lying down in the bed, ready for sleep, to recall the qualities of a Buddha's body, speech and mind. To really recall that the Buddha is close, and even to recite the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha until we fall asleep. And if we have a propensity for disturbed sleep or nightmares or anything like that, to actually feel that we are going to sleep in the lap of the Buddha, that we are fully protected and in a very safe environment. That also, of course, we can recite the mantra of the Heart Sutra and recall the meaning of emptiness and so on, and continually recite these mantras until we fall into sleep. And that it's said that sleep itself is neutral. It's neither virtuous nor non-virtuous. But if we fall asleep with that virtuous mindset, then our whole night of sleep will be virtuous. And we shouldn't be considering at this point when we're going to sleep about, oh yeah, what I didn't get done today or what I'm going to do tomorrow, but actually just really focus and home in on virtuous thoughts before you fall asleep. And of course, sometimes we have good sleep, sometimes we have bad sleep, and that's our own issue. If we have a disturbed sleep, it's because we have been cogitating on so much in the mind.
우 야치래 산제의 정수 진압 탐지 조수 삼사조 왜 자도 우 마스터도 냐바티 마 된쳐서 된다 차 된스 이슈 작지 전에 야고 그래 와 된다 저기 딱 강가 매워 잡서서 아니 되게 삼로 마틱 받게 매워 잡서 삼사 와 아니 이거 되마다 삼로 강가 툭 되나 아니 가와 끼고 그래 그만 아니 막 끼고 막고 니 코바 있는 니람 야고 땅거 말이야 니나 야고 마다 산이 끼고면 도 땅고 니람 독자 쉬고 땅서 다 끼고면 또 삼도
So yes, you may need to, if you do go to bed with a kind of like an agitated mind, you may need to kind of neutralize that before you enter into the virtuous thinking that brings you into sleep. And so this can be here you use a kind of a breathing meditation where you can do like 7 rounds of inhaling and exhaling to exhale the kind of like disturbing thoughts that you have. and that which is irritating or agitating, and exhale all that. And then on the inhale, you're inhaling the blessing of the Buddhas that brings peace and control of the mind. So 7 times, or you may need 21 rounds to get you to that peaceful state, and then be able to go to sleep in a peaceful manner. Otherwise, that's the case. People often have too much going on in their minds. They go to sleep and they have a disturbed night, and they have bad dreams, and they end up then telling everybody about the nightmares they had the night before. So if you do this and you go to sleep with a virtuous mind, you'll have very good dreams.
But
don't have any particular hopes for great dreams. There isn't that much significance to those dreams, that you should be fully focused on transforming your sleep into a virtuous Dharma practice, and that it is the main purpose of that sleep is to give your body and mind a rest, so that your both body and mind are refreshed for a day of virtue tomorrow. And yeah.
What Nima Saba the child or Kulon Tennis can Kawako or three cook up Jones or some such. And Motor that direction and one's visit the other devil to go. Missing English land to go. Timana, Tanima Charges in the time you're going your will, legal and the over there. And the letter is Missing Papa said over there. And client to him, me, Lieutenant Jambate, client to him ever chat with. Ningatua, Lavatomba Chato, client to him ever chat. And don't watch him with a Rasawa.
And so that's a very brief review of a day of how to set one's mind to a day of practice. And so it's so important that we start off the day again like with that sense of rejoicing, that we have a wonderful opportunity again of another 24 hours of possible virtue ahead of me, and that to really do whatever we can to make that meaningful by employing this kind of mindfulness and alertness and recall to our motivation to virtue, and to really take the essence of our remaining days, and to really use it in the course of our daily work and in any activity that we engage in, as opposed to really kind of like going through life like half asleep, when we're not paying attention to any of these matters. We're not really mindful or aware of being able to fulfill any kind of potential, but rather we're considering work a drag, life a bore, and that we're just looking for amusement all the time. And this goes on and on and on, where nothing significant is ever thought about or ever done, and you end up on your deathbed feeling you're completely empty-handed, that you have wasted a life. You don't want to end up like that. Otherwise, you just do work, you get the bills, you pay the bills, you do the work, you get the bills, you pay the bills, and then it goes on in this very narrow round of life. Then one day you're dead, and that's it.
And we thought because rolls are gum the pita was sort of
Oh yeah, and then little money that you have is to buy this kind of coffin thing that you're put into at the end.
But that gets you them to Tamara, Mazukanga. Yabuche catching Murdoa, Yabuche catching Murdoa, the subsubject. That lost our dinner, that the Chinese lost our dinner. Masuchi, Jordan, the gesture to go to Mrs. Dunton, but the so go to some such Jordan chick chair. And then ran the wood, and that some look at Janju, near Jugo, young, that was some contention at the tongue, and ran the Lord Yachet to Yajet. Lawyer Jet on a Sunday Comato and you were telling you, because like Sunday Ricks and you in Zan. And the Ran said to just Sola Mineva. Meetup was in the Iba could you in a chiller take matter? What you get on your theatre? That was Tamara, you get Sosona, Tamti Jabba chat to it. Or that thing was a cook up sim. Because Tamti Jabba chat to it, because you just on a minute by a chick. 아니 다가는 저거 산재가 리유가 니제 뒤 온게 차되기도 와 안 최단데 라싱가 맞도 와 이마 인자 그 좋아 대용 것도 와 다들 좋아 다 좋아 대 가고 인사 상사 저 내려보다 뭐 찍고 니고 야가 저 찍고 간자서네 지금 로고 막 타치네 야가 저도 잡대 참아도 고마 탐에도 패줘야 돼 거기 겹살래 해도 와 어디다 뭔가 상사 찍고 있어 아니 지금 거기에 장주가 셈다 닝제당 아니 동해 또 베셔라 되죠 양내 양도 삼로다 아니 랑 우당의 양제네 아니 동네에 미빠지는 거기에 아니 우다 마시고도 운이 딴 거라 우당의 건가 아니 저기 랑이 장바디 이제 야제 되고 산제 공부도 교육 좋도나 다 빼려와다 좋아 될 도선이 요 말이야 그 삼로 땅시 마시 시켜 봐라 근데 저기 샤나
So yes, as I said at the outset, that this New Year, this for Chinese New Year, that we have an opportunity to really kind of re-establish ourselves in virtue, to really kind of redeem our lives again, and that it's so important to us to take great care, as you can see throughout a day, that the importance of mindfulness and alertness in reminding ourselves of our motivation, of our best kind of motivation, our best thoughts is so important to being able to color each day with virtue. And that means to do our best to improve our minds in relation to renunciation, the correct view of emptiness, and the mind of enlightenment itself, bodhicitta, to bring as much of that thinking into our minds as possible, and to understand that transformation is possible. Is possible because we all have Buddha potential, and because phenomena lack any objective or inherent existence. That means they are subject to cause and condition, and that if we put the right causes and conditions in place, eventually we will reach the state of enlightenment itself. We can transform the mind into its perfection. And so these are the reasons behind why that is possible. We should always be aware of that and to never lose sight of that. And so any opportunity that we have to demonstrate love, of compassion, of kindness towards all other sentient beings is so important. To consider the mind of enlightenment, of compassion to be so important, to use our very breath to engage in the practice of taking and giving, of taking on the suffering of others, of giving of our own best, our own root virtues, of whatever we can to do, and to be able to use just our own breathing like that, increase and bring more love, more kindness, more compassion into the world, is something quite marvelous, isn't it? It's really wonderful. Not only that, it's free. And so that
what did it tell you? Garazuka or China smart Maria Lana, Missuna Kamar or Kumal Tonjik to Legua. Cannot smart remoto, Chambo remoto Lana, Lunglagua. In a smart Soso Sogua. Me or China smart Relano, so smart manner. Keeping Marwa. Then you buy some to build then there's on a go content, one at also smart mind, but what I catch the smart sweat. To my that's not the Major music Lusola and can just go lega level of so or billion table. In a dead some of walk on a try marwa. The day chicken, Nimbush land to much, the battle and don't out over the land to much. Take it to make huge to much, and when a smart silver.
And so normally if someone says, you're stupid, that can bring anger to the mind, but somebody telling you that you're stupid doesn't make you stupid. Someone telling you that you're smart doesn't make you smart. You yourself make yourself smart. But we can say that if your life is really confined, is so narrow to just going out to work, receiving bills, paying those bills, then having to work again to receive those bills, to pay those bills, and it doesn't really go beyond much those parameters, that's not a very smart way to live this short, precious human rebirth, But if we are able to expand our thinking into adopting our life and to use the potential of that life to bring happiness, compassion, love, and so on to others, then I think that's a far smarter way, and a way of taking the essence of this life. So we leave it there for today. So, I think I've taken a little too much time today, sorry. We'll do our Lam Rim prayer. From my two collections, vastest space, that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance.
If I do not reach this state, I behold your loving compassion for all lives.
May I find the best and complete greater path of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings. With the points of the path as I have discerned them, may I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread and declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this great path to enlightenment completed, due to the virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate mercies and create conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives on the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the Mighty One, and may you achieve their prosperity spread everywhere. Not aiming at true existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of hordes of demons without exception. Sankapa Pranjo, the sages, land of snows, Lord Sangrapa, at your feet, I make great requests.